At exactly 1:07 a.m., someone knocked on Daniel Hart's door. That alone wasn't strange. What was strange was who was standing outside. When Daniel opened the door, he expected a neighbor, maybe a delivery mistake, maybe a drunk college kid from down the street. Instead, a woman with silver skin and glowing violet eyes stood there. She looked terrified. And the first thing she said was, "Please, don't be afraid. I need your help." Daniel would later realize something terrifying. That moment was the moment humanity unknowingly stepped into a war between civilizations that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. And somehow, the fate of that war began with a knock on a small apartment door on Earth. The quiet night. Daniel Hart lived a simple life. He was a systems engineer, 36 years old, working late hours fixing security software for satellites and communication networks. His apartment sat on the edge of the city. It was quiet, predictable, safe. That night he had been working late again, coffee growing cold beside his keyboard, lines of code scrolling across the screen. Outside, the city slept. Inside, Daniel was debugging a problem with an orbital communication relay. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps. Not loud. Almost hesitant. Daniel frowned. Who would visit at 1 a.m.? He stood slowly and walked toward the door. Another knock. Even softer. Almost like whoever was outside was afraid of being heard. The woman at the door. Daniel opened the door. And froze. The woman standing there looked human. Almost. She was tall, slender, and strangely elegant. But her skin shimmered faintly like polished silver, reflecting the dim hallway light. Her eyes were violet, glowing softly in the dark. Her ears were slightly pointed. And her breathing was shallow. She was injured. One hand pressed against her side, where dark blood stained a strange metallic fabric. Daniel's brain struggled to process what he was seeing. Alien. The word surfaced slowly. Impossible. But she spoke before he could react. "Please," she said quietly. "Don't be afraid." Her voice was calm but strained with pain. "I need your help." The human decision. Daniel had 2 choices. Call the police. Close the door. Pretend this wasn't happening. Instead, he stepped aside. "Come in," he said. It wasn't bravery. It wasn't heroism. It was something simpler. Curiosity. And the strange human instinct to help someone who looked hurt. The alien woman stepped inside carefully. Her eyes scanned the apartment instantly. Not nervously. Strategically. Like someone trained to survive. Daniel noticed that immediately. Whoever she was. She wasn't just a random visitor. The injury. Daniel guided her to a chair. "You're bleeding," he said. "I know," she replied. Her English was perfect. Too perfect. Like it had been studied carefully. Daniel grabbed his emergency medical kit from the kitchen. Years earlier he had taken survival training for field engineering work. Nothing extreme. But enough to treat injuries. When he pulled back the strange fabric covering her side, he saw the wound. A deep burn. Not a bullet. Not a knife. Something else. A weapon he had never seen before. She watched him work quietly as he cleaned and sealed the injury. "You're surprisingly calm," she said. Daniel shrugged. "If I panic, you bleed more." For a moment, the alien woman studied him. Then she nodded slightly. "Humans," she murmured. "Always unexpected." The truth revealed. After 20 minutes, the bleeding slowed. Daniel poured 2 cups of tea and sat across from her. The apartment was silent. Outside, the city still slept. Finally Daniel asked the obvious question. "Okay," he said. "What's going on?" The alien woman took a slow breath. "My name is Lyra Valen," she said. "I was a strategic advisor to the Aurelian Coalition." Daniel blinked. "That doesn't help me." She nodded. "It means I am part of a civilization that controls more than 2,000 star systems." Daniel nearly laughed. But something in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't joking. My people discovered Earth long ago, she continued. But we chose to observe quietly. Why? Because humans are unusual. Daniel leaned back. That sounds ominous. It is, she said. The galactic problem. Lyra continued. In our galaxy, most civilizations evolve similarly. They become stable, predictable, logical. She gestured toward Daniel's computer. Humans are different. How? You improvise. Daniel smiled slightly. That's called problem solving. Lyra shook her head. No, it is far more dangerous than that. She leaned forward. Humans solve problems no one else even considers possible. Daniel frowned. Okay, still not seeing the problem. Her voice lowered. 3 days ago, my government was overthrown. Daniel sat up. What? A faction called the Dominion Authority seized control. They believe cooperation with other civilizations is weakness. And Earth? Lyra looked directly at him. They want to conquer it. Why humans matter? Daniel stared at her. You've got thousands of star systems, and you're worried about Earth. Yes. Why? Lyra's answer came quietly. Because humanity might be the only species capable of defeating them. Daniel blinked. That makes no sense. Every major species in the galaxy follows predictable strategic logic, she explained. Humans don't. She gestured around the room. You build dangerous technology in garages. You create weapons by accident. You solve impossible engineering problems with duct tape. Daniel chuckled. That's weirdly accurate. Lyra nodded. The Dominion Authority fears that. The real reason she came. Daniel leaned forward. So why come to me? Lyra reached into her torn clothing. She removed a small metallic sphere. It floated above her hand. Inside it, stars shimmered like a tiny galaxy. This, she said, contains strategic data on the Dominion fleet. Daniel's eyes widened. You stole it. Yes. And they're hunting you. Yes. And you came to my apartment because... Lyra looked at him calmly. Because I watched you for 3 days. Daniel nearly dropped his tea. What? You work late. You solve problems creatively. You don't panic under pressure. She tilted her head. You are exactly the type of human my people predicted could help. Daniel rubbed his forehead. So let me get this straight. He pointed at her. You're an alien refugee from a galactic coup. Then he pointed at himself. And you want a satellite engineer from Earth to stop an interstellar invasion. Lyra nodded once. Yes. Daniel laughed. A long, tired laugh. Then he stopped. Because outside the window, the sky suddenly lit up. Bright streaks of light tore across the atmosphere. Ships. Dozens of them. Descending. Lyra looked toward the window. They found me. Daniel whispered the only thing that made sense. Oh, that's bad. Lyra turned toward him again. Her voice calm. But urgent. This is the moment humanity proves something to the galaxy. Daniel sighed. Please tell me you have a plan. Lyra shook her head. No. Then she said something that would change human history forever. But humans are very good at making plans under pressure. And suddenly, Daniel Hart realized something terrifying. The first battle of Earth's future had already begun. The sky full of fire. The sky above the city turned bright like a second sunrise. Daniel stood at the window, staring upward as massive shapes moved silently through the clouds. They were not airplanes. They were too large, too smooth, and too perfectly controlled. Alien ships. Dozens of them. Long triangular shadows drifted slowly across the night sky, glowing with faint blue energy. People in the streets began shouting. Phones came out. Cars stopped. But Daniel understood something terrifying that most of the world did not yet realize. Those ships were not here to explore. They were here to hunt. Behind him, Lyra slowly stood from the chair. Her injury was still fresh, but her posture had changed. She no longer looked like a wounded refugee. She looked like a commander preparing for battle. "They moved faster than I expected," she said quietly. Daniel turned toward her. "You mean those ships came for you?" "Yes." "How did they track you?" Lyra pointed toward the floating sphere resting on the table. "The data core." Daniel sighed. "So the galaxy's most dangerous secret is sitting on my kitchen table." "Yes." "And an invasion fleet is now outside my apartment building." "Yes." Daniel rubbed his face slowly. "Okay," he muttered. "This might be the worst Tuesday I've ever had." Lyra almost smiled. The human brain starts working. Daniel's mind shifted into the same mode it always used when solving impossible engineering problems. Step 1. Understand the system. Step 2. Break the system. How advanced are their sensors? Daniel asked. Lyra blinked. "Excuse me." "The ship's outside," Daniel said. "How are they searching for you?" Lyra hesitated for a moment. Then she realized something. Daniel was not panicking. He was problem-solving. "The Dominion fleet uses quantum signature detection," she explained. "The data core emits a unique energy trace." Daniel nodded slowly. "So they're not tracking you?" "No. They're tracking that." He pointed at the floating sphere. "Yes." Daniel walked over to the table and stared at it. The tiny stars inside the sphere moved slowly, like a miniature galaxy. "So basically," Daniel said, "we're holding a glowing alien GPS beacon." Lyra nodded. "That is an accurate description." Daniel scratched his chin. "Well, that's easy." Lyra looked confused. "Easy?" Daniel grabbed a backpack from the closet. "Yes." He dropped the sphere inside. Lyra stared at him. "What are you doing?" "Changing the target." The first human trick. 10 minutes later, Daniel's old car raced through empty streets. The alien fleet hovered above the city like silent giants. Inside the car, Lyra watched Daniel drive with unsettling confidence. "You appear unusually calm," she said. Daniel shrugged. "When I was in college, I accidentally crashed my university's satellite network." Lyra blinked. "You did what?" "It was a bug in my code." "That sounds catastrophic." "It was." "So why are you calm?" Daniel smiled. "Because compared to that, this feels familiar." Lyra wasn't sure if that was reassuring or terrifying. Daniel stopped the car near an abandoned construction site on the edge of the city. He grabbed the backpack. "What are we doing here?" Lyra asked. Daniel pointed toward a massive crane. "We're giving your alien friends something fun to chase." Improvisation. Daniel climbed halfway up the steel structure with the backpack. Lyra watched from below, confused. 5 minutes later, Daniel attached the sphere to the top of the crane using duct tape. Lyra stared upward. "You secured the most important data in the galaxy with tape." Daniel climbed down. "It's very strong tape." "That is not reassuring." Daniel pulled out his phone and opened a small device connected to his laptop. "What is that?" Lyra asked. "A signal booster." He activated it. Instantly, the sphere on the crane began emitting a powerful energy pulse. Lyra's eyes widened. "You amplified the signal." "Exactly." "But that will attract the fleet." Daniel grinned. "That's the point. The alien fleet takes the bait." Above the city, the Dominion ships suddenly changed direction. Every vessel turned toward the construction site. Lights flashed. Engines roared silently. Lyra watched the sky in disbelief. They took the bait. Daniel dusted off his hands. "Rule number 1 of engineering," he said. "If something is tracking you." He pointed at the crane glowing brightly in the distance. Give it something else to track. Within seconds, 3 Dominion fighter craft descended toward the crane. Energy beams blasted the structure apart. Steel collapsed. The crane exploded into fire and debris. The data signal disappeared instantly. Lyra stared at the burning wreckage. They destroyed it. Daniel leaned against the car. Yep. But the data core. He opened the passenger door. Another identical sphere floated quietly in his hand. Lyra's jaw dropped. You copied it. Daniel shrugged. I'm a systems engineer. You reverse engineered alien technology in 10 minutes. Daniel tilted his head. It wasn't that hard. Lyra stared at him like she was seeing a completely new species. And in many ways, she was. Why the galaxy feared humans. Back in the car, Lyra sat silently for several minutes. Finally she spoke. My people feared something about humanity. Daniel looked over. What? Lyra said slowly. Every advanced civilization becomes stable over time. Predictable. Efficient. But humans. She looked directly at him. You are chaotic problem solvers. Daniel chuckled. That's one way to say it. You adapt faster than any species we have ever studied. Daniel shrugged. We had to. Why? Daniel looked out the window at the burning wreckage behind them. Because Earth tried to kill us for thousands of years. Lyra frowned. Explain. Plagues. Ice ages. Volcanoes. Wars. Disasters. Daniel smiled slightly. Humans survived by solving problems under pressure. Lyra whispered softly. That is why the Dominion fears you. The real invasion begins. Suddenly Daniel's phone vibrated. He looked down. Every satellite feed he monitored had lit up with emergency alerts. His expression changed instantly. What is it? Lyra asked. Daniel turned the screen toward her. Hundreds of red dots appeared across the map of Earth. More ships. Many more. They weren't just hunting you, Daniel said quietly. Lyra's eyes widened. That is an invasion fleet. Massive carriers appeared on the screen. Each one capable of deploying thousands of combat drones. Daniel stared at the map. Well. He sighed. This just escalated. Lyra spoke slowly. The Dominion will begin planetary suppression within hours. Daniel nodded. Then we should probably start winning. Lyra blinked. You say that very casually. Daniel started the car again. Lyra. Yes. Humans have a rule. What rule? Daniel smiled. When someone invades our home. He pressed the accelerator. We get creative. And somewhere far above Earth, the Dominion fleet had no idea that the strangest species in the galaxy had just begun to fight back. And human creativity was about to become the most dangerous weapon the stars had ever seen. The moment the world realized. Within 30 minutes, the entire planet knew something was wrong. The night sky above multiple continents filled with enormous shapes. News channels interrupted their programs. Emergency broadcasts spread across television, radio, and every phone connected to the internet. Governments tried to stay calm. But calm was impossible. Alien ships were appearing above New York, Tokyo, London, Delhi, Lagos, Sao Paulo, and dozens of other cities. For the first time in human history, Earth faced something no nation had ever prepared for. A galactic invasion. Inside Daniel's small car, racing through the quiet industrial roads, the situation felt strangely different. Daniel wasn't thinking about fear. He was thinking about systems. How many ships? He asked. Lyra watched the sky through the windshield. At least 300 carriers, she said quietly. Daniel nearly choked. 300. Yes. And each one has approximately 4,000 combat drones. Daniel did the math quickly. That's more than 1 million machines. Lyra nodded. The Dominion Authority does not fight slowly. Daniel leaned back in his seat. Well, he muttered, that's inconvenient. Lyra stared at him. Most species would consider this the end of their world. Daniel smiled slightly. Most species didn't invent the internet. Humanity's hidden weapon. Daniel pulled the car into a parking lot outside an old satellite communication facility. The building looked ordinary. Concrete walls. Antennas. Rusted gates. Lyra stepped out and looked around. This facility is insignificant, she said. Daniel nodded. Exactly. Inside the building, Daniel powered on several computers connected to global satellite networks. Lyra watched him work quickly. What are you doing? She asked. Daniel answered without looking up. Starting the biggest group project in human history. He opened a secure broadcast channel. Then he did something unusual. Instead of contacting a government or military command, he went live on the global internet. The human network. Millions of people were already online, watching the strange lights in the sky. Then Daniel's message appeared across multiple streaming platforms. A simple video feed. A tired engineer. And beside him, an alien woman. The internet exploded instantly. Comments flooded in faster than any system could track. Fake. Movie promotion. Hack. Government experiment. Daniel raised his hand. Listen carefully, he said. His voice was calm. This is not a joke. He turned the camera toward the sky outside. A Dominion cruiser glided silently above the clouds. The internet went silent. Then Daniel spoke again. These ships are hostile. They are planning to take control of Earth. He paused. But humans have something the galaxy doesn't understand. Lyra looked at him curiously. Daniel smiled. Billions of creative minds. The most human strategy. Daniel quickly explained the situation. Not every detail. Just enough. Alien fleet. Advanced sensors. Quantum tracking. Drone weapons. Then he said something no alien commander would ever expect. If you're a programmer, help. If you're an engineer, help. If you build drones, satellites, radios, software, or weird inventions in your garage. He leaned closer to the camera. Congratulations. You're now part of Earth's defense team. The internet erupted again. But this time, something different happened. People started working. The chaos that saved Earth. Within 15 minutes, thousands of programmers began analyzing the alien sensor signals Daniel uploaded. Within 30 minutes, amateur radio operators started tracking Dominion transmissions. Within 1 hour, engineers from around the world proposed hundreds of wild ideas. Most of them were impossible. Some were ridiculous. But a few were brilliant. Lyra watched the screen in amazement. This is madness, she whispered. Daniel grinned. This is humanity. The impossible idea. One suggestion caught Daniel's attention. A university physics student from Brazil had posted a strange idea. Not a weapon. Not a missile. A signal storm. The student realized something important. Dominion sensors relied on detecting clean energy signatures. If Earth suddenly produced millions of random signals, the fleet's tracking systems would collapse into noise. Daniel stared at the message. That might actually work. Lyra frowned. But how could Earth generate that much interference? Daniel turned toward her slowly. Simple. He opened another broadcast channel. Then he said something that would become famous across human history. Turn on everything. The loudest planet in the galaxy. Within minutes, the entire internet spread the message. Turn on every transmitter. Every antenna. Every radio tower. Every satellite. Every phone. Every Wi-Fi router. Every drone. Every experimental device. Everything. Suddenly Earth became the noisiest planet in the galaxy. Billions of electronic signals flooded the atmosphere. Random data. Music. Code. Static. Videos. Even memes. Lyra watched the sensor monitor in shock. Dominion detection systems began malfunctioning instantly. They can't isolate the data core signal anymore, she said. Daniel nodded. They can't isolate anything. The alien fleet panics. Above Earth, Dominion commanders stared at their consoles. Sensor systems failed across the fleet. Target locks disappeared. Drone navigation malfunctioned. Their advanced technology had never encountered anything like this. A planet that weaponized chaos. And the humans weren't finished. Humanity gets creative. Engineers across Earth began launching thousands of civilian drones into the sky. Hackers attacked Dominion communication frequencies. Satellite operators redirected solar reflectors to blind targeting arrays. Amateur astronomers used laser tracking systems to confuse alien guidance signals. Even gamers helped simulate alien combat patterns. Within 2 hours, the Dominion fleet lost coordination completely. Ships collided. Drone swarms malfunctioned. And for the first time in their history, the Dominion Authority realized something terrifying. Earth was not a primitive planet. It was a problem-solving machine with 8 billion processors. The final realization. Back in the control room, Lyra watched the chaos unfold. Dominion ships began retreating slowly. Not destroyed, but defeated. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Well, he said. That went better than expected. Lyra looked at him with disbelief. You defeated an interstellar invasion using the internet. Daniel shrugged. Never underestimate humans with Wi-Fi. Lyra smiled for the first time since she arrived. You were right. About what? She looked toward the sky. The galaxy was afraid of the wrong thing. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Lyra answered quietly. They feared human technology. She pointed toward the glowing cities of Earth. But the real danger. She paused. Is human creativity. The beginning of something bigger. The Dominion fleet finally retreated beyond Earth's orbit. The invasion had failed. But something new had begun. Across the galaxy, civilizations would soon learn a powerful lesson. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. But humans had something far more dangerous. They could turn anything into a solution. Even chaos. And somewhere far away in the stars, alien civilizations began asking a new question. Not can we conquer Earth? But something far more frightening. What happens if humanity ever decides to expand?